Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Srinathi Raghavan. I am on the dance curatorial team for the Indo-American Arts Council and have the honor of introducing our guests here today. So I will try and keep this quick, but there is a lot we would like to say and thank them for being here. So as you all know, this is the Indo-American Arts Council's literary festival, and we have literature, culture, intellectual discourse, everything coming together in a celebration of timeless tales and so much adventure. Spanning continents, this festival is a testament to the universal language of literature. Over Saturday and Sunday, we bring together the brilliance of over 60 writers and poets from around the world. From the profound to the poetic, our speakers bring a global perspective, reflecting the authentic Indo-American experience and showcasing the beauty of our cultural diversity. One of the remarkable aspects of this festival is its commitment to inclusivity, which is why all the sessions are free to the public, and this allows our literature enthusiasts from all walks of life to come together, share ideas, and revel in the power of storytelling. Today, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a captivating talk that promises to take us on a profound journey through the intricacies of human experience. Our esteemed guests are none other than Chandrika Tandon, the brilliant mind behind so much, but specifically today, Amu's Treasures, and our moderator today, Milay Raya. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. Chandrika Tandon is a globally recognized business leader, a Grammy-nominated artist, and humanitarian. Her stated mission is to elevate human happiness through music and education, through emotional and economic empowerment. She has released 5 albums under her nonprofit music label, Soul Chance Music. Her newest, Amu's Treasures, is a global music album for families, representing a musical hug transcending ages and borders. Amu's Treasures includes 35 songs and 21 chants, as well as a flip book with simple aphorisms for all ages. Chandrika's economic well-being efforts are focused on higher education, in particular STEM. She holds numerous leadership positions at NYU and other educational institutions, notably as the chair of the board at the NYU Tandon School of Engineering. Let's delve into the heart of the matter for a minute, and of course we can hear more on this soon. Amu's Treasures is a hug for the world, a message of love, light, and laughter for all ages. It is a 3-volume omnibus of 35 songs and 21 chants and invites its listeners to reminisce or make new memories with traditional folk tunes and familiar popular songs and poems. And these songs speak of far-away places in different genres and languages with varied arrangements. They're meant for quiet times, happy times, and any time. This treasury of music also includes ancient Vedic chants, and it is aimed to soothe and relax. Chandrika, with an incredible cabinet of musicians, reimagines what children's music should be like, and their incredible artistry to complex arrangements will feature many, many maestros. Milay Raya is a creative director, writer, and archivist who currently serves as the artistic director to the Town Hall. A multimedia artist with 3 decades of experience, Ms. Raya continues to study, compose, record, and perform. She has spoken at conferences about photography, music, archives, and prints. She wrote the liner notes for Tony Award-winning Leslie Odom Jr.'s 2020 The Christmas Album. Following the talk, please do take the opportunity to meet with our guests and to engage with them, and this is obviously a wonderful opportunity to which we're grateful for the Indo-American Arts Council. Let me express my gratitude to the IAAC, but also to our organizers, speakers, and sponsors at large, and to all of you for being here. Without you, there is no festival. So thank you so much. Now let us welcome our guests.
Well, I think we should start by just letting people see a bit of the videos.
Yes, should we play you like just a minute and a half? It's like a video. It's a teaser trailer really of the album. It's yours? Sure. We just let me back up before we play that and tell you it's called Amu's Treasures. And Amu, the term Amu actually means happiness. It means purity. It actually has a meaning. And it's a delicious term of endearment because that's what my grandchildren call me. And that's why this is called Amu's Treasures, because this album began as a sort of an ode to my grandchildren. And before I show you this character, one of the reasons I created this character was I really wanted Amu to be a a sort of a world character. I didn't want it to be me. I didn't want it to be, I just felt there's an Amu in me, there's an Amu in all of us. And I wanted it to be universal. I wanted it to be not woman, not man, not beast, not anything. I wanted it to be a universal figure of love. And that's what this Amu meant. So you'll see all of the songs in this album, including the chants, and we'll come to that, are really using Amu and the three little babies as a theme of telling the story. So this is a very, very short extract that we're going to play as an introduction.
Take a prize and sow your stars. All of us are children of the stars. Wish you could be here. Wish you could be here. Heart said, Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera, sera. Il y a longtemps que je t'aime, jamais je ne t'oublierai. Il y a longtemps que je t'aime, jamais je ne t'oublierai. I will tell you how. Fitted as Cupid's bow. I will tell you how. Fitted is Cupid's bow. See them gaily gather about. They love to play and shout. They never have any cares. At 6 o'clock their mummies and daddies will take them home to bed for their tired little teddy bear. Bless my family forever. I can hear the sound of violins long before it begins. Make me sway as only you know how. Sway me smooth, sway me now.
I think the video froze. That's but it goes on. We have 35 videos, and we will go to the chants in a few minutes, but the chants as well, which is about 21 chants.
Well, I want to start with the character itself of Amu, because I think in mythology and in fairy tales, but also in our lives, there's often a character that we do see as a woman often, that is a safe space, especially for children. You see it in fairy tales that there's oftentimes a fairy godmother, or there's maybe an aunt or someone that children feel safe with when they need to run to. We see it in our own lives oftentimes that we trust or run to our grandmothers when we need cover from our parents, right? As a professional auntie, that's what I call myself, as a person without a child, that we turn to these people because there's no judgment there, and they're not responsible for us, so they're the safe space. Why this character in this moment? You know, I think there's something very particular about coming out with an album or this kind of storytelling in 2023, I think. Was there something particular about this?
Well, let me tell you the history of how Amu's Treasures came about, and then what my whole thinking has evolved into now as we sit here at this moment, because big, profound changes have happened in my life just in the last few months. So this album started out as a gift to my grandchildren. I have 3 grandchildren. The little one wasn't born, but my oldest one is five and a half, and the next one is 3. So I wanted to know, what do you do as a grandmother, right? You sing. I mean, that's what I know how to do. And, you know, this little boy would love music. Right. He would love. So and of course, you know, the moment I started singing, he would fall asleep. And it didn't matter what time he woke up. So my daughter had a rule. She said, you can't sleep, you can't sing to him the moment he wakes up because he's fast asleep again. And he'd be drinking his milk and I'd sing and he'd stop drinking the milk and he'd fall asleep again. I promise you, I'm not making up any of this. This is truly what used to happen. So she said, Mom, you need a schedule for singing. So there, fast forward a year or so, and I started out singing, okay, in traditional ways that we all do as as Indian women. We say, well, let me start with a chants. So I started with verses of Om Jai Jagdish Hare and Vakratunda Mahakaya, and I kept expanding the basis. And as he began to talk, so at some point he said, Amu, I want more. I want a new song today. And then I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm done with the chants because the other chants, I don't want to go to the whole Vishnu Sahasranamam. That might be too much for a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. So I started to go into songs like Kesara Sara and all the songs I sang when I was little. So that's kind of how the album evolved, right? So it was a gift to my grandchildren. But what has happened, and then, about 3 months ago, I was invited to go to Prague to sing to to work with the Ukrainian refugee children at the place called the Kroki Dobra, where there's a group of women and men that are taking care of a lot of Ukrainian families, maybe 200 or 300 of them. So the children had somehow gotten a hold of an advance copy of the album and they were all singing. And when I went there, and they had all practiced the album, they would be sending songs to me to say, Chandrika, we're singing these songs of yours and we want you to come and sing with us. So when I went there, so 2 days I rehearsed with them, and then the third day we performed in the palace in Prague for all the families. Every child wanted a hug. Every child wanted, it was just a love fest for 2.5 days, both the rehearsals and the performance. And when I turned around, in fact the whole audience, by the way, no one spoke English. None of the children spoke English. They all spoke Ukrainian, and in fact they prepared a song of Ukrainian. But then when they all turned around, when I finished the last song, we had a reprise of the whole audience singing Kesara Sara. All the children had drawn this picture of Amu and they had labored over this picture. I've actually got a big photograph of a collage of these 40 children that made up these pictures of Amu. I just wept and wept on the stage watching what these children did. And the thing that hit me is the need for a figure of unconditional love in all our lives at this moment. We are all Amu. We've all had an Amu. It doesn't, in many cases the safe space was our grandparents.
Right.
But in some cases it wasn't that. It was a friend, an aunt, an unexpected person that just gave us this place of unconditional acceptance. That you are great, you're wonderful. And it could have happened when you were 5. It could have happened when you were 20, or it could have happened when you were 40, because a lot of us have had holes in our hearts. And I think that's really, now I'm on a crusade almost, which is saying, yeah, it started out for my grandchildren, but it's for everybody who's got a hole in their heart. And by the way, all of us have holes in our heart. And even if we don't have them all the time, we have them some of the time. So I didn't want this to be Chandrika's album. I want all of us to feel our Amu. That's why this is intended to be this very sort of universal character of love. I mean, we draw these heart figures. That's a little cheesy for me, but I just picked this other alternative. So that's kind of where I was coming from with this. A long-winded answer, but my whole vision, what started out as a project for my grandchildren, has expanded into something much, much broader right now. And so I'm doing a lot more concerts with huge groups of families.
Right. It's interesting that you say that about Amu being in all of us and us being at a literary festival, because I think in the US, culturally, Amu is often in the place of English teachers. When you ask someone who changed your life, someone will often say, oh, it's my 10th grade English teacher who saw something in me, or who read this essay, who taught me this piece of poetry. And what's really interesting in the book here is that in the booklet, you'll see that it's not the actual lyrics, but it's poetic shortenings almost, or summaries of the lyrics. So it's little poems almost that summarize the songs themselves.
The theme of the song.
The theme of the song.
Because I didn't choose to just do, and this gets to a bigger point, right, about children's music, about,
Yes.
really,
Yes.
I wasn't trying to dumb down the songs for the children. So I wasn't trying to just do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I could do that too, and they've done enough of that. And typically children's music here is when you have 3 notes and 4 beats, which is fine, and they've got an amazing place. But I was quite bold. And I'll tell you one thing, when my grandson was 18 months old, and he could barely speak. I think boys just speak later than girls. And then suddenly I saw this little boy in a tricycle, and he's not having big sophisticated conversations with any of us at that moment. And he's going around saying, Om Shammo Mippa Shambho Naha. So I'm thinking to myself, this sounds very familiar. What are you saying? And he's actually repeating Om Shamno Mitra Shamvarunaha, because I've been doing this chant every week that he stayed with me. So children are able to absorb a lot more. When we grew up, there was no such thing as children's music. We just heard whatever was all around us, we absorbed it. We didn't think of genres, we didn't think of one category or another category. We just absorbed music, and we didn't see pigeonholes in pockets. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this album here, so that we just opened everyone, and that opened the brains of children, the minds of children to all this stuff. But then what happens is some of the old songs were songs, I don't know, are you guys familiar with a song called Ash Grove? Was anyone learned the song? Anyway, Ash Grove is an old English song and it's something I learned when I was in 2nd grade. In fact, I sang it in one of the solos in 2nd grade. It's a very beautiful, down yonder green valley where streamlets meander, where twilight is fading, I pensively rove. And it goes on and on. But in that, with sorrow, deep sorrow, my bosom is laden, all day I go mourning in search of my love. So you have words like that. So my daughter called me up when my grandson was 3, and she said, Mom, Kavi is in the bathtub singing, with sorrow, deep sorrow, my bosom is laden. All day I go mourning in search of my love. She said it took me a few minutes to figure out what he was singing, but that's what he's singing. Must you be teaching him such mournful songs? But this is a good point. So what? And it's okay to know about death. It's okay. So I have songs, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? You all know Where Have All the Flowers Gone? Yes? Where have all the flowers gone? The flowers went to the girls went to the boys went to the soldiers went to graveyards, and the graveyards went back to flowers again. That was a circle. That's a circle of life. And it's okay. You don't have to hit them on the head and say death, death, death. But it's, we see things, creation, So a lot of this, the essence of what I pulled out on the songs, on the pieces, was just the essence of what is the message of the song. And all these old songs, like even Ash Grove, had all these beautiful memories. It's a song about faraway places, when you do have loves that come and go. À la Claire, you saw the 2 deer in French, That was a song about, sometimes you get angry at somebody and they go away for a long time. And, it takes a long time to mend. And that's what the song's about. Of course, it was, sung for children, but it was about a boy and a girl talking about a love, but we made it about 2 deer, which is the same thing, He refused my flower, and I got mad, and then, I called him back, and Amu, of course, went and got them all back together again, and everyone is happy ever after. So, in a sense, that's what we try to create, the story of pulling the essence out. Molly Malone, how many of you know a song called Molly Malone? Molly Malone is an old Irish song, which again I did as a child growing up, In that song, in these Irish songs, God knows what they do. So what happens is Molly Malone is a fisherwoman, and she died of a fever and no one could save her, and that's the end of Sweet Molly Malone. That is the story, because you see a lot of these old English songs from the 1600s, 1700s, or Irish songs, they all have these kind of, somebody dies, it's not a big deal. I guess people died a lot. So in Molly Malone, they then, but of course the words were, and a ghost wheels her barrow through streets broad and narrow. So I changed all of that and said the friends wheel the barrow. And I said, when things happen in a community, the whole community comes together to support you. And I think those are important concepts to learn. It's important concepts to address. So the entire flip book, and we can show you a couple of pages if you like, of the flip book, We'll show you, we won't show you the whole, it's a long flip book, and we've got some signed copies outside which you're welcome to take. But the flip book is themes, little aphorisms about each of the songs. The lyric videos, we have lyric videos of all of them.
But I think this is very important for children to learn because they're hyper aware at this point. There's nothing that they're not seeing. And so when they have poetry, when they have lyrics, or when they have some text or songs to help guide them through some of what they are experiencing,
right.
They experience death. Whether they experience it in their immediate life or they see it societally or on the news or what
or
have you.
Or animals or creatures or plants, and that's natural.
Exactly.
And I think part of what I'm trying to do, and I'm not succeeding very well, by the way, I do have to say, but definitely my mission is one, more is more. That, see, you know, Ash Grove, memories of people we love live forever in our hearts. It's true, sometimes people go away, but it's a long song. It's a long old English song. Sarangani, do you all know the song Sarangani from? So we have that, and that's a dancing, and but I added words. Of course, you know, if I did the Sarangani from my childhood, those would not be words that any of us could have sung right here, because we did it in college with all kinds of crazy words. But I wrote, you know, family appropriate words for that. And you know, this is an interesting one. Wish You Could Be Here is a song actually written by Paul Simon. And it's funny in that we've got, and if you all have a chance, you should watch the video, which is actually up on YouTube. It's a beautiful song of Paul Simon. And in this, the whole point is that Amu is missing the babies, and the babies are also missing Amu. But they come back and Amu's door is always open. So the one thing, whenever my grandsons watch this video, before the video even ends, they'll say, Amu's door is always open and Amu always has a hug for you. That's a very profound, forget the song, forget the words. The message is what I want them to have, that there is that figure. And I just think that's really at the end of the day what my whole idea is with Amu's Treasures, you know, which is we really have this hug for the world, that we really project this sense of love and unconditionality for acceptance of everyone.
But I think what you're also getting at is children's mental health.
Which is so critical.
I think we don't always, first of all, not everybody has access to sort of the medical mental health care, but what can we do as, you know, people on a just child's development, and how much of the brain is even developed, how much of the outlook on life is developed before age 6, we're finding out. And these kinds of stories, the videos you've got on YouTube, the songs, these are how you develop literally the outlook. You know, the stability of one's security, of knowing that there's always a place, there's always at least a safety net, you know, there's always a sense of self that one can depend on. There's, you know, there's always someone, there's always a sense of community.
You see the aching many years later, you know, so some of the reactions I've had as people have heard it older, you know, my most poignant reaction was when I was going through this with an older woman. She's actually a very big academic in New York. She was hearing a couple of the songs and then she started crying, and I just said to her, what was going on? And she said, look, I just wish my mother had sung these kind of songs to me, because it just gives me such a sense of sadness that I didn't have this. And you know, but I think we all, so mental health and this thing of unconditioned, having some space, we all want acceptance, we all want love. And any way we can give it, look, I'm not saying this is the panacea, but you know, while people are on their journeys, this is one additional thing to give to all ages.
It's true.
That's why, I mean, Ke Sara Sara, we all know Ke Sara Sara, right? Now that was one, it was great because my grandson said to me, Amu, will there be a rainbow tomorrow? And I'm like, I don't know, Ke Sara Sara. And then there I am singing Ke Sara Sara. And fortunately in the song there actually is a line which says, Ke Sara Sara, will there be rainbows day after day, you know? So it was a great way to bring back some of the messages of these songs.
I want to touch on the imaging here. You know, it's such a beautiful, it's so bright, it's so kid friendly, and the videos as well, which you can see on YouTube. Some of them, I was looking at the views. How did I not even know about it? And it already has 100,000 views. they're so high quality and they're so bright. What was the inspiration beyond or behind the exact image of Amu?
Well, once we created the image of Amu, then it was telling stories about each of the songs.
Okay.
And each song is a story unto itself. And and we're coming to the chants a little bit, and this is particularly important that I want to talk about. But I think that everything is done at the highest quality, So the chants, I told you, were 21 chants, right? And the 21 chants, because that's where we've struggled most with the expression of the Indian tradition, with this high level expression of the chants. So the chants, I started out with the whole journey of the chants that I was trying to explain to my grandchildren, which was starting with Vakratan, starting with the God of beginnings, Ganesha, and then I said to myself, I'm always calling then the Guru, because they say the Guru comes first, so I used the chant, the shloka of Guru. Then I went from there into calling Namah Shivaya. So I took the key shloka, Triambakam Yajamahe, and then I went into Om Namah Shivaya, a short chant of Om Namah Shivaya. Then I went to Narayana, and then I took a short shloka from the Vishnu Sahasranamam into Om Namo Narayana. Then I took Sri Rama Rameti, and then I went into Hari Rama Hare Krishna. Then I did Devi, I did Sarva Mangala Mangalye. Then I went into Ya Devi, all short, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, like. But then the whole 12 chants later, the whole thing comes to a different phase where we say, at the end of the day, the light has to be within ourselves. You can call all the gods you like. Then I go into Asato Ma Satkamaya, lead me to the light, lead me to the bliss, lead me to the reality, going into the Gayatri mantra, into Purnamata Purnamidam, Bhadram Karnevi. So, all the Shanti mantras. So there's 21 chants, and ending with this joyous thing of Om Jai Jagdish Hare, which was just a celebration, like a lot of it. And then, so this was kind of the idea. Now, in terms of creating that video, which is going to come out shortly, we created a video which is called To the Light. 21 minutes it's 27 minutes starting from the beginning to the end, 27 minutes. And then Amu and the babies are going towards the light, and they're looking everywhere for the light, but then they don't know how to find the light. And they keep finding all these different gods. They find Ganesha on the way, they find the gurus, everybody blesses them. Then they slowly find that the way to the light is really through the different paths of yoga, which is through grace. They pray, they do some good deeds, they take care of other people on the way. So this is like the karma yoga. And then they do a lot of yoga, where you'll see they do all the poses of yoga. In fact, my grandsons look at it and say, oh, that's the warrior, that's the peaceful gorilla, whatever names they're calling them in school now. I don't even understand those names, but they clearly make sense to them. So then doing yoga, and then devotional chanting. So there's one scene in Hare Rama Hare Krishna, Nitya Gopal Das ji will understand this, where there's just ecstatic chanting with the Amus and the kids doing dole and chanting Hare Rama Hare Krishna. So there's a whole scene, and then the compassion, and the goddess opens up. And then in Om Jai Jagdish Hare, there's like a jolly going around on the rainbows. Everybody is up in the sky in bubbles, enjoying the world. That was the idea. But trying to explain to a kid, the kid asked me, Amma, what is the light? What does it mean to be in the light? And I've had to think a lot about it, and then my little grandson, who's a little chubby boy at that point, he would say, first time he said, Amu, this is too long, because 27 minutes. See, they're sitting in the crib, they're not allowed to speak. He said, it's too long. So the next time, of course, the older guy is happy, play it 3 times if you like, I'm happy to listen to it. But this boy said it's too long. So then the next time, I didn't say anything, I played it on again. He stayed quietly and he said, can you tell me why you do Om so many times? I just said, well, it reminds you to take a deep breath each time you do. So the third time I'm playing this, it's a very quiet room except for the chants going on, and I hear and I think he's trying to take deep breaths in between each one. I mean, God knows. And then of course he calmed down. It was too many deep breaths for him at 10 o'clock at night. But I think that's what happens. And then when you start to understand, will Ganesha really bless me? What does it mean to be free? Will I be able to answer those questions? I don't know. But I just tell them free means you're so happy, you feel so much joy, you don't feel mad, you don't feel upset. And it's then when you feel happy, you can then be happy with everyone else. It's the simplest explanation I can think of to explain radiance and enlightenment in my own words. But that's really what the essence is. Our bottom line is very simple. But I've used music and words and these visuals to describe this. So that's in a nutshell Amu's treasures.
I love it. You know, when we were speaking earlier, I said that there's an audience for Amu's treasures that is adults, because I think there's so many of us who watch Pixar movies, there's so many of us turning towards what is considered children's texts because we're looking for simpler stories. And we're looking for simpler things in poetry, in mythology, even in fairy tales sometimes, because adults' texts have become too complicated, it seems. And I think that's why so many people are turning towards spirituality, towards fairy tales, towards folk tales. And Amu's treasures, although these are short, these are things that you can meditate on. And it's the same with the music. And another thing, you glossed over it, but the visuals are really, really impressive. I just came from Anime Con yesterday, and this reminds me of some of the anime level drawings.
Right, and we work with an extraordinary team in LA, and they just spent the last year working on these 36 videos for us.
Would you consider turning this into animation, the story of Amu?
Well, we are considering it right now. We're just working through how we make that, because the 27-minute movie is in fact the story of Amu. But then how we do something more broadly with all of these is just one of the questions that we have in mind. We haven't shown.
Well, one other question I have many questions for you, we don't have enough time, but one question I have in terms of this is for your grandchildren. You've said that. And I think there's such a big market. I, in some ways, am a target. I know that there are probably kids who are a target for this. For first generation people who need access to this storytelling in shorter forms, in more digestible forms, sometimes in English or mixed language. Was that part of the inspiration behind this?
Again, a lot of this is evolving. See, I made it as a very simple idea for my grandchildren. And then now in Czechoslovakia, they want to use it as 36 Montessori lessons. And they want, which is interesting, right? They want to actually take the chance and do a whole thing in Prague schools, in certain schools, with the charts. Now, exactly what that form that'll take, we're working on it now, and I just want to let them do it, whatever they want, because this is a not-for-profit. We really want to spread the message, and if people can feel happy about it, that's great. So we just released this, so I think the possibilities are whatever can be done with it. It's just a hug, and whoever wants to take it and spread the hug further, I would love for them to do it.
Right.
And again, I've used music, but there probably are a lot of other, tools and gifts other people have. This is my treasure, but all of us, some people tell tales, some people have stories, some people are dancers, some people are, do drawings, do art. So that's all our expression of love for the world, for the children, for everyone else, for each other.
Right, that's true. I'm sure that I see some parents in here. Sometimes when I'm watching media that my nieces like on YouTube, I just it's a lot. It sounds a lot like noise. I'm watching this stuff and I'm like, oh, children's music.
It's really cacophonous.
It's hard to listen to, and I just sort of bear through it. This is beautiful, well-crafted music, and of course you've made music before. Did you think of this in a different way when you were making this? You were like, oh, I'm making children's music? Because first of all, you heard her sing, but when I was listening to the album, I'm like, oh, who's singing on this album? And I was like, oh, it's Chandrika. So it is you singing, but the rest of this list, Rakesh Chesh's on it, and Bella Fleck is on it. These are huge names in the music industry.
Right.
In terms of the list of musicians, I'm looking at them like this is absolutely an adult album. But at the same time, why shouldn't a children's album have the highest level of musicianship on it?
But see, you answered your own question, because that's
Right.
exactly it. In fact, when I wanted to, when we went to make this album, we went for a 3-day session to Massachusetts. We just went in there, very quickly made the album. And the third day, we all sat together that night, and we were just saying, oh wow, it's all done. And the percussionist, Jamie Haddad, who's a professor at Oberlin, says, Chandrika, we need a cello on this. We need to get a banjo on this. And then he says, I'm going to call Bella. I'm going to call Bella Fleck. Bella Fleck is the greatest banjo player in the world. I mean, and he's amazing. So, and first Bella's reaction to me was, well, I've heard you, because he and I were nominated at the same time for the Grammy. We were on the same, and of course he won the Grammy, I didn't. So, he probably doesn't remember me, but I definitely remember him. But he said, look, you send me the music, even send it to me on your iPhone. I'm not sure, but I don't do session musicians like that. It's not my thing, but send it to me anyway. 20 minutes later, he calls me up and he says, I don't care what my manager says, I don't care what they do, I'm in, I want to do this album. Everybody brought their best to this music. And so somebody like a Kenny Warner, who's an extraordinary jazz pianist, would take a song, and we were in the studio together, he'd say, I want to play it once. He'd say, no, I've got another idea to play this song. And he'd play it one more time. And these were such simple songs, And they played, I have 9 versions of Kenny Warner playing Listen to the Falling Rain, And then I had the unenviable task of sitting there with the 9 amazing versions and with 24 cello versions and 35 percussions to try to figure out what instrument I wanted in which order. So that I did all the mixing and the putting together of the music, which took a lot of work. But I think that's really what each one brought to this. In fact, they all wrote to me. We had a Zoom session a few days ago just to kind of celebrate the album release. People were in tears. They were saying that this was one of the most beautiful projects they did. Not big, musically, I mean, it's good. We went to the highest standards of musicality. But I think everybody felt this love sitting in the studio and feeling that they are sharing of themselves for another generation, that they were offering themselves unconditionally. And I think that's what all of us felt throughout making this album. When you hear it, you'll hear it in the notes, you'll hear it in what they've played. And I think that's what Amu's Treasures is about.
Yeah. Do you hear the highest level of musicianship and no ego?
And production, we didn't spare anything, because if we're going to leave something for generations, why not give them the best? We don't know what they'll want.
But it's just so interesting because it's an adult album at the same time, because it's that excellent. It's the best musicians you could possibly get to do an album together. So it's very interesting that I think this is how children's music should be done. It should be at this level, so that the rest of us, when our nieces and children are listening, we can listen as well.
But I'm curious, do you all have any reactions, questions? What do you guys think? Okay.
There is a lot of research which goes into projects like this around brainwaves. Is that something you did before?
Well, I have not worked on that space before with music, but that's very much the work we're doing right now. That's my foundation is very engaged in this whole space. We're very interested in looking at different charts, and we're working with different researchers. I've been doing that with breath work and talking to different research people, but I'm very, very interested to see what is the effect. I've seen it on a very small sample with the bigger charts, and look, anecdotes, a swallow does not a summer make, but I will tell you the fanatic reaction I've had from the children. I mean, I can get them to drink water from a well. I don't know. I mean, I can get them to do anything I want because I just have to promise them that they can listen to the music at night. So there's something to be said for this. But because it makes them feel good. It's because they won't listen to The Floor is Lava 100 times. So there's some, and I think this is true of our mantras. This is true of our, you have to be in deep meditation, and I do a lot of these 10-day retreats for meditation and so on. And the chants have an incredible effect on your brainwaves, especially when you're deep, and you can see how it kind of connects your neural networks. if you go deep. And so I really hope that that'll be the next phase of what we do, using our chants. And not just our chants, it's true of Byzantine chants, it's true of Gregorian chants, it's true of the Buddhist chants, it's true of some of the Native American chants. So I'm very interested in this topic. But thank you, it's a very good question.
Thank you, Chandrika ji. It has been an absolute honor and delightful pleasure to hear about your journey. My name is Sangeeta, and I'm a full-time practitioner of Ayurveda and Vedanta, and also I'm a Dharma ambassador with the Hindu American Foundation. It was particularly very heartening for me that you brought out this album, because after a whole lot of research, we've understood whether it's a spiritual seeker that's an adult or the society that we want to improve and make it conflict-free. Unfortunately or fortunately, the best period is time or age 1 to 6. You target them then. There's something about the neurochemistry and neuroplasticity that works in ways that it unfortunately does not later. So I just want to thank you for this contribution that you made, wherein, sure, we would love to have wheels of the bus go round and round as well, but along with them, the chants and the eternal wisdom of those chants, if they even fall in the ears of the kids and they begin to take to them, I think the seeds are sown, and I'm not worried about the harvest anymore. So thank you very much for making it the way that you have made it, and I look forward to hearing more and more.
No, my prayer is that children, adults, because a lot of the adults of my age group, to get these simple chants together in order, in a sequence, because even the Mahamrityunjaya and so on, you learn later on in life.
Much
you
later.
Randomly pick up a mantra here or there. I didn't want that to be the case. Look, not everybody can recite the entire verses of the Vishnu Sahasranam, but in the Vishnu Sahasranam it said, right, when Parvati asks Arjuna, they have this conversation. There's this conversation when she says, it's a long Vishnu Sahasranam, how do I do it every day? And then there's a statement which says, all you do is say, Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Rama Nama Varaname. So if you said that, that's equivalent to saying the whole Vishnu Sahasranam. And so I pulled out verses like that, which will at least get them started. Then maybe they'll want to do more, but I promise you that one of the experiments I do when I put them to bed, right, is I play this. I just go to even Om Jai Jagdish Hare. It's 9 verses, not trivial. So I'd go say, Tum Purane, and then I would stop. And exactly he will feel, Paramatma. So, they are listening. You think they are dreaming, you think they're doing something else, but their minds, the term you used about neuroplasticity and the absorption, more is more. And the more we can give them now, the better. And that's kind of my philosophy. So I made it easy for us to do it as a community. And it's not just the Indian community, because these are simple verses of the entire, from chant 13 to 21 is all secular. There's no God, there's no energy. It's all about finding the light. Gayatri, let the light inside me shine as bright as a billion suns, So each one has a meaning. And it's very important to me that please spread the word. Let not just children, you all learn it. Because 200 children sang with me in Washington, D.C. 200 children. Indian Americans, most of them, a lot of others as well. They came, practiced, and sang it so beautifully. 400 kids sang with me to sing other songs, not the chants from Amu's Treasures, but other songs. Sarva Mangalam, Bhavatu, Bhavatu, Bhavatu. All American high school kids, and sang it with such beauty. So the Sanskrit is an extraordinary language that we have to learn it first.
Sorry, just one last point. Do you have plans of popularizing this in India? Because every time I go back, I feel such a stark need for it in India more than any other place.
I have to. My base is here, and I haven't done very much in India yet. But that's to be done.
Thank you.
So you all are welcome to take it. It's all not for profit. Take it, sing it, popularize it, do it your way. Sorry, we had it.
No, it's okay. I have a question for each of you, actually. Chandrika, you've been an engineer. You've been in the business world. And I see when you do this a very methodical approach to this also. It's not just a grandma singing her songs. It's singing, there is the working with the best artists, the best musicians, etc. So I'd love to know where this second transition began in you. You've been very successful businesswoman, and now you're in this just as, spreading the word as much as you did in business. So where did that shift happen? Because I think it's very important for women also to hear about or man, anybody, to reinvent themselves. So that's the question for you as to when did you decide, or did it happen naturally, the whole reinvention? And for you, the question is about public-private partnerships of how do you make art belong to everyone. You work in the town hall, you work in this. Because I work in India, actually I run something called Link, which is like TED in India. We have thousands of people who come every year. And I always feel India needs to embrace India a lot more than it has in the past. So our last 10 years journey has been bring the best of rest of the world to India, best of India to the rest of the world. So our youth feel very much at home with our heritage. And because there's so much, we needed somebody to make a $1 billion yoga industry before we realize it's important. So a lot of our work is there, and the next generation today, you should come and meet them. They're amazing, amazing. And I think you'd be very popular with them. But I'd love to hear from both of you about both public-private as well as reinventing yourself.
In terms of public-private, we're a nonprofit, the Town Hall, and we're working on really building partnerships with corporations. Corporations during the pandemic, many did exceptionally well, and I think that especially in New York, they're becoming more generous in terms of understanding that New York is its value in this city, in this country, is really as a cultural hub. So we've actually been doing quite well with especially entertainment companies. So example, just a few days ago, we did a big project with Crunchyroll during Anime NYC, because we said, we've got the history. We've, as a nonprofit, have Billie Holiday, the history of Billie Holiday and Nina Simone and Ravi Shankar and all of these people. So we have the cultural history and the artistic history, and you have the resources. So we've been kind of doing that with a lot of corporations and saying, we've got this and you've got that. So together we can actually make programming work together, because you don't have the history. A lot of the corporations don't have the art history, don't have the cultural history in New York. So that's kind of how we've been operating, especially since the pandemic, is leveraging each other's, pluses, basically. That's how we've been having to operate. But I think it's actually been a lot better since the pandemic with corporations, because I think there has been a bit of a sense of responsibility since New York has struggled so much since 2020. Yeah, but I would love to talk to you more.
Yeah. So let me take the question. And it's a longer answer, but I won't take the whole time to do that. But about 23 years ago, to be exact, 1999. I had sort of a crisis of spirit, is the best way to describe it, when I had to re-examine my whole life. Not for any particular reason. Normally people re-examine your lives when things fall apart, But I was lucky that I was able to re-examine it at the height of everything, when I had to really say what made me happy. It's kind of a privilege to be able to ask these questions, but I realized that my happiest times had to do with music. And going into music, I just decided that whatever I did had to connect with music in some way. So I went back to just doing music a little bit more. And the second thing I also committed to is I didn't want to live in a selfish bubble, which I was living. I had my home, my work, my business. I was doing all of that stuff, but I wanted to keep my access a little bit wider. And that's when I went I said, so the two critical commitments I made to myself is I would include music in my life in a more intentional way, and that I would include service in my life. That's what I did. And might change my whole being. I think we should probably wrap up.
Oh, yeah, I think somebody's coming.
So, Rakesh, you had your hand up, and then you had...
Your grandchildren are so fortunate to have you as their starting point. You are the treasure.
Yeah. No, we all are. We just are, some are more bold about expressing it. That's what I'm saying, we are all Amus. We all have so much to offer. Really, we do. Rakesh,
so thank you very much for this enlightening discussion, and I'm very excited to share my story. When I heard from you that we'll be having this Ammu treasure coming up soon, I think 4 months back, I was reflecting that this word Amu in North India known as Amma becomes grandmother for the Amma. I was reflecting my own relationship with my own grandmother, that how it was a space wherein I could be free. I could see that she will not judge me. She can provide that unconditional space of loving and care and whatnot. I was thinking that this is what I've been missing, and this is again is being springing out in my life. And I was so thrilled to hear that how this hug which we can give to one children as a person, how this hug can be spread to whole world through music. Because the sound comes from a loving space, can create a loving space for other person, wherein the person can feel that space. Thank you very much.
No, it's very, very well put. Thank you for that.
I think we're...
Rakesh,
Oh, Rakesh
will
has
have
a
the last
question?
word.
Okay.
So Chandrika, Mele, thank you very much. I do want to share with you why you were selected to be in this Lit Festival. When we first saw Amu's Treasures, it hit the right notes for a couple of very profound reasons. First, it's grounded in classical, timeless Indian storytelling. India gave birth to apologue. Apologue, Mele, is the idea of using animals to do storytelling of human beings. And the first story, Mele, that has been translated into more languages than any other was the Panchtantra. That's the first time animals acted human nature. But the second thing that was profound about your creation is that before you can see the light, you have to put yourself in a state of wonder. A mystic is always in a state of wonder about nature. And this book, this story, makes you marvel. You go in a state of wonder. Something children do naturally, adults need desperately, but don't do it. And that's why this is such an extraordinary book. The last story, in my humble opinion, that was in this genre, which now you have excelled, is Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Like you, he was a mathematician, he was a scientist, but he read the story to Alice, and like you did with your grandchildren, and Alice said, "You've got to publish it." And look where it went. And may Amu's Treasures travel on the journey of Alice and go even farther ashore.
Perfect.
From your mouth to a hug for the whole world. That's really what we can say. But thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for, and then really do spread the word, Just thanks.